have an object that presents very advanced technology.
A perfect metallic sphere crashes into a Colombian farm, leaving dead grass in a 30-foot circle. No damage from impact, no seams or welds, just flawless alien metal covered in mysterious symbols. X-rays reveal impossible nested shells with floating microspheres inside. The sphere gains 6 pounds of mass from nowhere, violating physics. Quantum AI finally cracks the code, revealing universal constants more precise than human science can measure. Gravitational signatures from colliding black holes. Cosmic coordinates pointing to unknown locations. A second sphere surfaces in Japan.
Brought this extraordinary artifact to the world stage, raising a single question at the heart of it all. What is the Buga sphere, and who or what sent it?
March 17th, 2025, 2:47 in the afternoon. The power lines above Juan Velasco's farm in Buga, Colombia suddenly snapped like guitar strings. Something metallic tore through them and slammed into the earth with enough force to create a crater. But when investigators arrived expecting to find twisted metal and shattered pieces, they discovered something that made them question everything they knew about physics. The object was a perfect sphere, completely flawless. No dents from the impact, no scratches, no cracks, just smooth metal that reflected light in ways that seemed impossible. The surface was so perfect that it looked like liquid mercury frozen in time. But the strangest part wasn't the sphere itself, it was what surrounded it. The grass in a perfect 30-foot circle around the impact site was completely dead, not burned black like you'd expect from something hot. The vegetation was desiccated, completely dried out, as if something had sucked every drop of moisture from the plants instantly. Juan Velasco, the farmer who witnessed the crash, described hearing a sound like wind chimes mixed with whale song just before impact. His daughter Maria, who was playing nearby, started crying and wouldn't stop until they moved her away from the sphere. The family dog refused to go near the crater for weeks afterward. Local authorities called in specialists from Bogotá, who then called in international experts. Nobody had ever seen anything like this object before. The sphere measured exactly 30 centimeters across, about 12 inches of pure mystery. When they carefully lifted it from the crater, it weighed 16 pounds. The metal felt warm to the touch, despite sitting in Colombian soil for hours. But the most disturbing feature was carved into its surface, symbols that made linguistics experts step back and shake their heads. These weren't hieroglyphs or any known writing system. They were something entirely different, patterns that seemed to shift when you looked at them too long. The impossible architecture inside. X-ray analysis at 3 separate laboratories revealed the sphere's internal structure, and it defied everything scientists understood about metallurgy and engineering. Inside the outer shell were 2 more shells, perfectly nested like Russian doll. Each shell was made of aluminum that tested at 95% purity, but the remaining 5% contained trace elements that didn't match any known alloy on Earth. Between these 3 shells, 9 tiny spheres floated in perfect suspension. Not held by wires or magnetic fields, they just hung there in empty space, maintaining their positions with mathematical precision. The spacing between them followed the Fibonacci sequence, each microsphere positioned at intervals that created perfect golden ratio proportions. These floating objects were too small to extract without destroying the entire structure, leaving scientists to observe them through imaging technology. At the very center of the innermost shell sat a chip-like object. Whether it was silicon, ceramic, or something else entirely remained unknown, because removing it would require cutting through all 3 shells. The chip was roughly the size of a grain of rice, but appeared to contain intricate circuitry patterns visible under electron microscopy. The patterns were so complex, they made computer processors look simple by comparison. The construction techniques baffled metallurgists worldwide. There were no seams, no welds, no joints anywhere on the sphere. It appeared to have been formed as a single piece, despite containing multiple, nested components. Current Earth technology couldn't create such an object. Even with our most advanced three-dimensional printing and manufacturing techniques, creating seamless nested shells with floating internal components was impossible. The tolerances required were beyond human capabilities. Temperature measurements showed the sphere maintained a constant warmth of exactly 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, human body temperature. It never got hotter or cooler, regardless of environmental conditions. When placed in refrigerated storage, it stayed warm. When exposed to heat lamps, it never got hotter than that precise temperature. The sphere was somehow regulating its own thermal state. Quantum minds crack the ancient code. For months, the world's best cryptographers, linguists, and pattern recognition experts tried to decode the symbol covering the sphere's surface. Classical computers ran through millions of possible combinations. Neural networks trained on every ancient language came up empty. The symbols didn't match any human writing system ever created. Then someone at MIT had a revolutionary idea that changed everything. What if they stopped thinking like humans and let quantum artificial intelligence take over? Quantum computers don't process information the same way regular computers do. Instead of checking possibilities one by one, they exist in multiple probability states simultaneously. Think of it like this. If your laptop is looking for a specific key in a room, it would check every drawer one at a time. A quantum computer becomes every possible location at once, then instantly collapses into the correct answer. The team at MIT connected IBM's Condor processor with Google's Sycamore quantum cloud, creating a computational powerhouse capable of processing billions of possibilities simultaneously. They fed the sphere's mysterious engravings into this quantum lattice at midnight on a Tuesday. For 3 hours, the machines churned through probability spaces that human minds couldn't comprehend. At 3 in the morning, patterns began emerging from the quantum chaos. The symbols weren't random decorations or alien writing. They were mathematical equations, not just any equations, but the fundamental constants that govern our entire universe. The first sequence that appeared matched Planck's constant down to 15 decimal places. This number represents the smallest possible unit of energy in existence, the foundation of quantum mechanics itself. The second pattern revealed the golden ratio, nature's favorite number that appears in everything from hurricane spirals to galaxy formations to DNA helixes. But these weren't approximations or rough estimates. The precision carved into the sphere exceeded the accuracy of our best scientific measurements. Whoever created these engravings understood physics better than humanity currently does. The universe's operating manual. As the quantum processors continued their analysis, more universal constants emerged from the sphere's surface. The speed of light appeared in perfect detail, followed by the gravitational constant that determines how matter attracts other matter across space. The fine structure constant that holds atoms together was there, precisely calculated to more decimal places than our instruments could measure. But the quantum AI didn't stop at basic physics. It discovered the electromagnetic coupling constant, the weak nuclear force ratio, and dozens of other numbers that define how reality operates at its most fundamental level. These weren't just scientific curiosities carved into metal. They represented the mathematical architecture of existence itself. The sphere wasn't speaking in words or symbol. It was communicating in the universal language of physics. Dr. Sarah Chen from Caltech made a disturbing observation that sent chills through the research community. The sphere didn't just contain these constants, it presented them in a specific order and relationship that suggested something profound. If someone wanted to store the operating system of space-time itself, this would be exactly how to do it. Not a message or instructions, but the actual source code that makes reality function. The implications were staggering. Human civilization had spent centuries discovering these constants through experimentation, observation, and theoretical work. Yet here was an object containing all of them with precision that exceeded our capability. It was like finding a smartphone in ancient Egypt, except this device contained the blueprints for building universes. The quantum analysis revealed something even more unsettling. The mathematical relationships between these constants suggested they weren't just recorded observations. They were active principles, fundamental rules that could theoretically be manipulated if you understood them well enough. The sphere might not just contain information about physics. It might contain the tools to rewrite physical laws themselves. Messages from colliding black holes. The second layer of symbols, decoded by the quantum AI, revealed something that made astrophysicists uncomfortable. The patterns weren't numbers anymore. They were frequency signatures, specific gravitational wave patterns that matched observations from the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory, known as LIGO. These frequencies represented the sound of black holes colliding billions of years ago, cosmic events so violent they ripple space-time itself. But the sphere's engravings didn't just match LIGO's discoveries. They contained gravitational wave signatures from events we had never detected, frequencies from neutron star mergers, white dwarf explosions, and other catastrophic cosmic phenomena that occurred before Earth even existed. The sphere was like a cosmic recording device that had captured the universe's most violent moments and stored them as mathematical patterns. The third layer revealed orbital resonances, the mathematical music that keeps celestial bodies in stable relationships. Jupiter's moon dancing in perfect gravitational harmony. Saturn's rings maintaining their gaps through precise gravitational frequencies. Even recently discovered exoplanets had their orbital ratios carved into the sphere's surface, including worlds we had only identified months before the sphere's discovery. Dr. Lisa Park from Harvard's astrophysics department made a breakthrough when she overlaid the glyph patterns onto deep space star maps. 3 symbol sequences aligned perfectly with fast radio burst sources, the loudest and most mysterious signals we've ever detected from space. These bursts come from galaxies billions of light years away, representing energies so massive they defy current understanding. But one pattern pointed to coordinates where nothing visible existed, just empty darkness between the Andromeda Galaxy and the Triangulum Galaxy. The quantum AI suggested this wasn't actually empty space. Something was there, waiting to be discovered. The sphere might be providing navigation coordinates, a galactic GPS system pointing toward locations our telescopes hadn't properly examined yet, when reality becomes a tuning fork. Computer simulations of the sphere's internal structure revealed properties that violated 3 fundamental laws of physics. The nested shells didn't just sit there passively, they created electromagnetic fields that bent light around the sphere in impossible ways. DARPA had been working on similar metamaterial cloaking technology since 2018, but the sphere's design was decades ahead of anything human engineers had conceived. When researchers modeled how electromagnetic waves would interact with the sphere's aluminum layers, the results were bizarre. Light didn't just bend around the object, it spiraled, creating interference patterns that shouldn't exist with known material. Dr. Michael Torres from MIT's Materials Laboratory ran the simulation 12 times with identical results. The layered structure acted like a photonic processor, actually computing with light itself. The 9 microspheres floating between the shells served a specific purpose in these simulations. Positioned at precise mathematical intervals following golden ratio spacing, they created standing wave patterns when exposed to specific frequencies. The sphere became a resonance amplifier, a cosmic tuning fork that could remember and reproduce any frequency it encountered. The most unsettling simulation came from Caltech's team. They modeled what would happen if the sphere received the same frequencies that were encoded on its surface. The virtual sphere didn't just resonate, it generated localized space-time distortions, tiny but measurable warps in the fabric of reality itself. This shouldn't be possible with aluminum and floating microspheres, yet the mathematics consistently predicted these effects. These simulations suggested the sphere wasn't just a message or data storage device. It was a functional piece of technology designed to interface with fundamental forces, like a hard drive that doesn't store files but stores fields, magnetic signatures, gravitational patterns, and electromagnetic frequencies. The sphere might be capable of receiving, processing, and transmitting information through the quantum vacuum itself. The Tokyo connection and civilization-changing knowledge. Whispers began circulating through underground collector forums in July 2025. A private auction house in Tokyo had allegedly catalogued a second sphere, smaller than the Colombian object at only 8 inches in diameter, but featuring the same impossible construction. Different symbols covered its surface, but the nested shells, floating microspheres, and seamless metal construction were identical. The collector refused to go public, but leaked photographs showed familiar patterns that hurt to look at because human brains instinctively knew such precise engravings shouldn't exist. If 2 spheres existed, logic suggested there were probably more scattered across Earth, placed deliberately by whoever created them. This wasn't random. These objects were targeted deliveries to a planet that had reached a specific level of technological development. The implications for human knowledge were staggering. Current physics has significant gaps in understanding. Dark matter and dark energy make up 95% of the universe, but we can't detect them directly. Quantum gravity remains unsolved. The standard model of particle physics has holes that prevent us from understanding reality completely. These spheres might contain the missing pieces. Dr. Chen from Caltech outlined what unlocking even 10% of this technology could mean for humanity. Energy systems that draw power from quantum vacuum fluctuations, providing unlimited clean power. Propulsion systems that bend space-time instead of burning fuel, making interstellar travel practical. Medical scanners that see probability waves rather than just tissue, detecting diseases before symptoms appear. These weren't fantasy concepts. The mathematical foundations already existed in the sphere's engraving, but the most profound possibility was consciousness itself. The sphere's ability to gain mass without adding matter, to maintain perfect temperature regulation, and to interface with electromagnetic fields suggested it might be interacting with aspects of reality we didn't understand. Some researchers privately wondered if the sphere was actually alive in ways that transcended biological definitions of life. The weight of impossible truth. The most disturbing aspect of the Colombian sphere remained its unexplained weight gain. Day 1 measurements showed 16 pounds, Day 7 showed 20 pounds, Day 14 revealed 22 pounds. No material was absorbed, no chemical reactions occurred, no external matter was added. The sphere was spontaneously generating mass from nothing, violating conservation of energy laws that form the foundation of physics. Multiple scales at different facilities confirmed these measurements. The sphere wasn't just getting heavier, it was creating matter from somewhere else, possibly pulling mass from quantum foam, the theoretical substrate of spacetime, where virtual particles constantly appear and disappear. If this was true, the sphere represented technology that could tap into the fundamental machinery of reality itself. Jose Velázquez, who has studied meteorites for 20 years, stated clearly that he had never encountered anything remotely similar to this object. Julia Mossbridge from UC San Diego wanted Harvard's Galileo project involved, recognizing that serious scientific study was needed beyond YouTube speculation. The Colombian farmer still insisted the sphere hummed when his daughter sang near it, producing frequencies at exactly 432 Hz, the same frequency some musicians call cosmic. The Sanskrit chant videos circulating online remained unverified, but the frequency measurements were consistent. The sphere appeared to respond to specific sound patterns, particularly those with mathematical relationships to its internal resonance structure. This suggested it wasn't just a passive object, but an active device designed to interact with its environment through vibrational patterns. NASA had requested samples from the sphere, but wouldn't publicly explain why. 3 major universities were competing for access to study the object. Everyone involved understood that whoever decoded this technology first would fundamentally change human civilization. Or perhaps civilization was already changing, and we had just discovered the instruction manual for our next evolutionary step. The sphere represented either the most elaborate hoax in human history or proof that we weren't alone in the universe. More importantly, it suggested that whoever created these objects understood physics at a level that made our current science look primitive. We weren't just looking at advanced technology. We were potentially holding the mathematical blueprints that build galaxies, the frequencies that collapse probability into matter, and the deepest operational code of existence itself carved into metal we couldn't reproduce.